Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. Today, we are going to talk about selfish PMDD partners. And I am guilty of this, specifically when I'm in my PMDD days and I'm deep in my suffering, but my partner is also guilty of this. And I just came off of a trip with my partner, and it was for his birthday, and he got a promotion with work. And a big bulk of the disagreements that we had, when I say disagreements, I mean within myself, because I never vocalized a lot of the triggers that I was having in that moment, because I was thinking that I wanted to make sure that, he had his moments. We can talk about a lot of the issues that we have later on, but there was family there, friends there, coworkers there. And I just didn't think it was the right place for us to go over everything, because sometimes it takes us a minute to use the tools. Number one, we have to use them every single time because he has an instinct to get defensive. And then when he gets defensive, I shut down. So that's the pattern that we normally go through if we don't use the tools. But it does take a little bit of time to kind of just, we can't really be around a lot of people. And it was a lot of people in the house. We were at parties. So I just wanted to talk about how selfishness can really draw a line in between you and your PMDD partner. And I also want to talk to you about this because a lot of times you could be being selfish in your relationship with your PMDD partner and not even realize it. I know a lot of times my private clients, when I point out certain things and I offer suggestions as far as things that we really need to do differently to cater to the partner, they have no idea that they were not already doing that. And I know it's so hard to hear when you, as the one suffering with PMDD, feel like you're already doing so much, and then your partner feels like you're not doing enough. So there's this disconnect. But PMDD has a way of bringing the selfishness out of partners, and I'm going to explain to you why. And a lot of it is not intentional, but it is very much present. So the problem, PMDD partners can be very selfish. And the problem with that is that when that selfishness is taking away from the well-being of their partner, there's this thing called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And it's basically talking about the basic needs of a human being. And when I take you through this, I want you to know if your partner's basic needs are not met, and you're trying to get your needs met, or you're trying to connect with them, you're going to have an issue. You're going to run into problems, because when I tell you these 5 hierarchy of needs, what they are is this is what every human being needs. So regardless of what your specific PMDD partner says that they need, there may be things that they want, but these are things that they actually need in order for survival, things like that, in order for them to be in a good place to be able to give you anything, basically. So if these needs are not met, then that could be one of the reasons why I always ask, when you're saying that your PMDD partner is not being supportive, or you're saying that they're acting out of character, I always ask if these specific needs are being met, because if they're not, this is probably the reason why. And so at the bottom, we have our physiological needs. That is breath, the need to breathe, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. Okay. Those are the physiological basic needs that every individual has to have in order to be operable. So if you think about this in a very simple term, when it says breathing, right, it's okay, obviously you're breathing. If you're talking, you're living, right? Food. Is your PMDD partner hungry? So as we're going through this, and this is a lot of what I do in the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Academy, I'm going to be asking you questions, and I really want you to think about what has gone on with your PMDD partner. And when I ask these questions, just apply it to your specific relationship. So a lot of times, if you think back to the last time you've been in an argument with your PMDD partner, number one, I want you to ask yourself, was your PMDD partner hungry? And I know it can seem so minuscule. You're like, I don't know if they were hungry. Who cares if they were hungry? Well, if that's one of the basic needs, if they were hungry, then it'll be hard for you to have a conversation with them, talk about an important issue if that need isn't met, because all they're going to be focused on is that they're hungry, right? And have you ever heard that phrase of being hangry? So I know a lot of times this happens with my partner, where I try to talk to him about something, or I try to do something else. For example, this past weekend, when we were together, and I was kind of working on some things. I had a couple clients, and he's like, he came in from work, and he's like, what are we doing for dinner? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't think about it, because he eats a lot earlier than I eat. So I'm a night owl. So I normally eat my dinner around 8 or 9 o'clock, because I'm going to be up for a couple hours. Whereas he goes to bed super early at, like, oh my gosh, he will go to bed at 7:30 if I let him. And if we have something going on, it's like probably 8 o'clock is the latest, because he wakes up at like 3:30 or 4 for his job. So his body, mind, everything starts to shut down at that time. So our eating times are even different. So what I was noticing was, because we have different physiological needs, when we're cohabitating and living together, those needs clash, because a lot of the things that I need are different from what he needs in the timing of it. So timing is everything. Just because you're not hungry doesn't mean your partner's not hungry. Just because you can go hours and hours and hours and not eat and not get, hangry, doesn't mean that your partner's the same way, and in the past, I've done intermittent fasting. I've, been super busy, like doing client calls and, being a mom and working and all of these things. So I can go like hours without food and I don't get hangry. But my partner's, again, his body starts to shut down if he doesn't eat at a certain time. So when he came in from work, he was kind of like, babe, what are we, like, in a kind of like in an anxious state. So this is how you know that your PMDD partner's basic needs are not getting met, is if they come to you in like kind of an anxious state, like, I need this, I need this, I need this. And so what happens a lot of times is we don't need it at the moment. So we're kind of like, what is your problem? Why do you need this now? Because if we don't need it, but our partner really needs it, it's like we don't feel the sense of urgency. So I could have been like, oh, well, I was like, I don't know, like, we can figure it out. And he's like, well, I said, well, what time do you want to eat? And I could tell he was trying to be very accommodating, like, oh, what do you want? But he was really in that desperation mode, like, I need to eat now. And I was like, okay, so where do you want to go? So we were going back and forth in the conversation. And then I said, well, what time do you want to go? And he was like, now. And I was like in the middle of something. And so I kind of like, okay, like, let me pause and stop what I'm doing so that I can make sure that he gets food. Now, I wanted to bring this up because in the past, I would have gotten an attitude. I would have gotten really triggered and been like, don't you see I'm in the middle of doing something? Can't you see I have this to do? And listed off all of the things that I had on my to-do list. That's technically what I would have done in the past. And it would have triggered me, irritated me that he was stopping me from doing what I was doing. And he just came in with that. So that's why I want to let you know that would have been selfish of me. This is an example of how PMDD partners can be selfish. It would have been selfish of me to allow him to hold off getting food because I had, certain things that I needed to do. Because what I'm telling you is that this is a physiological basic need. So if this is not met, there are going to be physiological problems with your PMDD partner that is going to cause them to be cranky, to be irritable, to say things and do things that they don't necessarily mean. But because they're in that moment of one of their basic needs not being met on a physiological level, then they're going to react differently. And a lot of times what we do as PMDD partners is we shame, blame, criticize our PMDD partners for their reaction to their basic needs not being met. So what I mean by that is if your partner becomes irritable, if they say something, if they yell, if they raise their voice because they're hungry, we're going to hold on to that and say, how dare you talk to me like that? Like, this is when the ego comes out. It's like, how dare you talk to me like this? I'm doing this and I. And that's when the selfishness comes in. And instead of really understanding, wait a minute, and questioning, why is my PMDD partner talking to me like this? I want you to begin to question, is your PMDD partner hungry? It's a very simple fix. Go get them some food or go to eat with them. I know for my PMDD partner, he doesn't like to eat alone when I'm there. Like he enjoys having meals together. So I will adjust my eating times to accommodate him because I know that that's an important thing for him. Food is not as important to me. We're going to get to what's important to me in a minute. So I got up, I stopped what I was doing, even though I was mid-thought. I was writing some notes from a client call, and I really prefer to do that right after the session when everything's fresh because I take notes. But when I provide feedback, I like to do it right after the session. But I knew in my mind, right? This is one of his physiological needs. He needs food. He needs it right now. I saw the body language. He was very anxious. He was kind of pacing a little bit. So you have to study your PMDD partner. You have to know their mannerisms because when you see them shift, then you can understand the behavior that comes after that. So instead of blaming them for, all of these things that they're saying and doing, you can rationalize it in your mind and say, okay, I see why they're acting like that. So for me, we went and got food. After that, he came back. He's like a baby. He eats, he comes back, he takes a nap, and he was good. So then I could go back to doing my work. And that's what I want to let you know. So many times you make it in your mind like it's such a big inconvenience to stop what you're doing and focus on what your PMDD partner needs in the moment because it's not in alignment with what you are needing. But sometimes it's very small, like it doesn't take that long. But in our mind, we put it off as this huge thing. So we were literally gone for like an hour. We went and we ate, we came back. Actually, no. We were talking about going out, but I think he was so hungry that he decided to, he cooks steaks and asparagus. And I don't eat asparagus, but that's a whole nother thing. Actually, he put the asparagus on my plate and I was just like looking at them. I hate them. They make your pee smell smell weird. And I'm a texture eater. Like I don't like slimy thing. I don't know. Some people love asparagus, and that's his vegetable. Broccoli is my vegetable. Like I love broccoli. He loves asparagus. I looked in the house. He went grocery shopping. There was no broccoli. There was only asparagus. So I was like, we had like one of these little stir fry things. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just put this in the pan and have that. Cause I was not about to eat the asparagus, but he was so like, he was so happy to make my plate and he put the asparagus on there. And I was like, oh, can you put that to the side? Like, thanks, but no thanks. But anyway, so we sat down and so we didn't even, so the whole process took like an hour. We sat down, we ate, we got a chance to catch up and talk. That's his time where he loves to catch up and talk. And so I also knew that. So now we're connecting quality time with food. So if I was to just say, I'm not hungry right now, like, can we do it later? I'm pushing off one of his basic needs, which was food. So I want you to just ask yourself that next time. And if food is not your PMDD partner's thing, as far as their physiological needs, if it's not a big deal to them, then I want you to listen for the next thing. So the next thing is water, right? It's a very simple thing, right? Water. Like you're like, okay, what I make sure I do for my PMDD partner is have a bottle of water on his side of the bed all the time. And not that he's going to get cranky because he doesn't have water, but there's a lot of times where I know he'll wake up in the middle of the night and he'll be thirsty and have to get out of bed. And then he'll be irritable because he had to get out of bed and come back. And I just make sure the water's there. I put a bottle of water on my side. I put a bottle of water on his side. This is just me doing little things to make sure that his basic physiological needs are met. And then the next thing is shelter. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory. If you don't have a home, that is a problem. I remember a couple of months ago, because me and my PMDD partner are long distance, but not that long distance. We're like an hour apart as far as a plane ride, but he was going to move from one place to another. And then he was really stressed out about the whole moving process, and he was looking for more places to live and looking for the area. So like that can cause your PMDD partner a lot of stress if they have to think about where they're going to live, like the logistics of that, because obviously they want to have the comforts of home. So where they live is really important. So again, if you think, oh, we're moving, big deal, like it could be a big deal to them because there's certain things that they need in the home in order to feel safe and secure and comfortable. So that needs to be in place as well. The next thing is clothing. Obviously, you don't want your PMDD partner like, cold or hot or whatever it is, clothes are clothes. Here is my thing. This is the last one for the physiological needs. My big thing is sleep. And I know I've talked about this so many times on these episodes where that my PMDD partner snores. And I love that one of my private clients gave me these headphones, not gave me, but gave me the link for these headphones, these Bose headphones that are supposed to be really good for snoring. And they worked, unfortunately, not for the long haul. Like I think when I initially go to sleep, I can have the headphones on and it's fine. But then his snoring is horrible. Horrible. It's because it's not steady. It's not like a steady snore. It's like a up and down. It like scares me. So I'm like, what are you like? It's like it makes you like jump out of your sleep. And I'm one of those people when I wake up out of my sleep, it's hard for me to go back to sleep. And then I'm just sitting there really sleepy, staring at the ceiling, like, like the cartoon with the two eyeballs. So I was with my PMDD partner for days and days and days. And I think it really caught up to me because the first couple of days I was like, okay, like I'm sleepy. But like by day 3 or 4, I was becoming delirious. Like I was only getting a couple of hours of sleep. And I was like, everything starts to look differently for you. Like when you have a lack of sleep. I wasn't thinking straight. It was almost like I was on PMDD, but like PMDD on steroids. Like I normally have insomnia during my PMDD, but like having it when I was in my good days was actually making my good days like my bad days. Because the whole time I was there, I was in my follicular days. And it became a problem by day 3 or 4. Like we were doing a lot of parties because we had family and friends that had come in from out of town to celebrate his birthday, his promotion. And so I was also, okay, I'm gonna throw this in there. I'm a ambivert. So you know how you have introverts and you have extroverts. My partner is a extrovert, right? I am a ambivert, which is a mixture of the two. So I love to go out. I love to socialize. That's when me and my partner connect the best. But then I also need to recharge by myself alone, probably watching Netflix or journaling or doing even my morning routine. I'm like an introvert in that way because I don't want to speak. And I'm going to get to that too. Like this may be like a 2-part. I feel like because I was gone so long, I was like, I have so much to tell you. So if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you follow me on Instagram. in love with PMDD. I document my journey every single day. You can DM me. So a lot of you who are following me already know that I was triggered because I was like, day 7, I'm triggered. And it was weird because I was saying like I was triggered in my good days. And so normally that happens in my PMDD days only. And I also became avoidant, right? So I became avoidant around day 7 or 8 because of the lack of sleep. So because I was suffering from a lack of sleep, which is one of the physiological needs, I started to get all of these symptoms. And I'm telling you this because I know that other PMDD partners go through this because I have had sessions with private partners and they're like, I couldn't get sleep. So now we have this big issue and now we're arguing and we're fighting. Or it's like, I'm hungry and you're trying to have this conversation with me at a time where I haven't even eaten today. I just got home and you want to have this conversation. So like everything goes wrong once these physiological needs are not met. Breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. If one of these things are off, you all are going to be off. I'm going to stick to physiological needs because Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there is, I have notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, because it's part of my research for my dissertation. It's 5 of them, but I don't want to overwhelm you. But what I want to let you know, it was a big problem for me that I wasn't getting sleep on this trip. And I was showing up as if I got sleep. I think that happens a lot of times too, when you give more to your PMDD partner than you have to give because you feel like you're supposed to, and you feel this pressure to, and you feel like you can't say no. And that's how it was. I've had all of this pressure on me to show up for him, to not make him feel bad about the snoring because it was his birthday. And I'm like, I don't want to argue. I don't want him to get defensive because a lot of times he gets defensive because he tries to please me. And so when he hears that he's not, he takes it really hard. And I had to understand that about my PMDD partner. I just thought it was like this toxic trait that he has. Like he just gets defensive all the time. Like what the heck is wrong with him? But he's actually getting defensive because his feelings are hurt because he's trying to do the right thing and it's not translating. And so he's trying to explain himself. What I want to let you know is that when we were on, I'm going to give you an example of how I told you how I met his physiological needs by accommodating him when he needed to eat, right? My physiological needs were not met. And let me tell you how, right? And what comes from that. I will sometimes sleep on the couch if the snoring gets so bad that I just can't sleep, or I'll sleep in my daughter's room because it becomes torturous to me. And I just be like, I just need to get to sleep because I feel like I'll just be so much better the next day. I'm not going to be cranky, irritable, all the things. I know what happens to me if I don't get sleep. So the first night I already planned because we were going to sleep at different times. I was going to be staying up late doing work anyway. And so I was working on the couch and I fell asleep on the couch. And then most of the times I'll go in there in the morning, or sometimes I'll lay in there in the evening times until he goes to sleep. And then I'll get up and go. But I know that my PMDD partner loves to cuddle and have me in the bed. Not even just cuddle. He just likes my presence in the bed. I mean, that's a whole nother need, but we'll get to that on one of the next episodes. I'll talk about that. But he doesn't need me in the bed for that reason when he's sleeping. But if you know, you know. So magic pill. So he feels comfortable when I'm laying in the bed. And I know a lot of you can experience that where you sleep better when your partner's there. So I get it. So I try to accommodate that and like work around that as much as possible while also getting my sleep. So I immediately slept on the first night. I slept on the couch and I could tell like he didn't like that. But I also heard him snoring from like out on the couch. I'm like, whoo, like dodge that bullet because there's no way I was going to get any sleep. So that was the first night. And then I was fine. I was obviously groggy in the morning because he also wakes up really, really early, like even if we're on vacation. So like I stay up late, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when I'm doing work. I'm doing my dissertation. And then so think about this. I want you to think about this. If I'm going to sleep 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm up, and then I finally go to sleep, and then he wakes up 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not the best at math, but carry the 1 divided by 2. That's not a lot of sleep. And then when he's up for the day. He's like, let's go. And so he had came out and he like gave me a kiss on my forehead, or he's like tried to like say good morning. He's really loving in the morning, and he wants to feel loved in the morning. And I want to feel loved by my covers in the morning. I want to cuddle I'm in the deepest sleep at that time in the morning. So like I was like, I felt him and I kind of gave him a hug back, but I was just like, I just want to go back to sleep because I didn't want to get so awake that I wasn't going to go back to sleep. So that was the first night. So I kind of got woken up the first night. And the second night, the same thing happened. And so we're going days and days and days of this cycle. By day 3 or 4, I was like, oh my gosh. So I think we went somewhere trying to figure out how this happened, how he ended up, because at some point he ended up sleeping on the couch. Oh, he went to sleep really, really early, and he fell asleep on the couch. So I was like, oh, cool. I finally get to sleep in the bed. I went to go sleep in the bed. And I was like so relieved, like finally I'm going to have some time to like get some sleep. Well, my PMDD partner woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he climbed in the bed and he started moving and shuffling around. And I was like, what? Then he started touching my hand and my arm. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not happening. And then he's trying to like cuddle with me. And then I'm like, well, maybe if I stay really still, he'll like just go back to sleep or like do so. I just wanted to go back to sleep. I knew I needed more sleep. Like I was on day 3 or 4 and I was like hanging on by a thread. The couch was not comfortable, by the way. So, um, yeah, that was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Then he starts snoring. So then I'm like, what? So you have to think about this. I'm already in the bed. I'm curled up in the bed. And then he's in the bed snoring because I guess he went back to sleep at like 4, like almost 5 o'clock in the morning, because I woke up out of the bed and went to sleep on the couch because I'm like, if I'm going to get any sleep, because I tried to force myself to stay there. That was another thing. I tried to force myself. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. Just stay there. Just like fight through it. But that almost makes it worse for me because I just sit there getting more and more angry and irritable. So I went to the couch to go get some sleep. And so I'm like, finally, I even have the eye covers. You know how you can cover your eyes with the little eye patch things? I have that because if I have a window that opens or something, like I don't want to see the sunlight. I just want to stay and like sleep. So I was out there, and then I guess, so I finally went back to sleep. Then at 6 o'clock, he gets up like for the day. And then he comes over and he like wakes me up and like shakes me a little bit. He's like, babe, do you want to go back in the room because people are starting to get up? So I was on the couch and like our daughter was getting up. Her boyfriend was there too. And our oldest daughter, mind you. Okay. Like not my 13-year-old, but anyway, they were moving around. And so he was like, you want to go back in the bed? And I was like, what? I was so cranky and irritable because I tried to go back in the bed. And then when I went back in the bed to go to sleep, guess what happened? My dog, Leo, started scratching at the bed because he wanted to go out for his walk. So I was like, no. Like, because if I go out on the walk, that's, if you follow me on Instagram, that's when I'm normally out talking to you guys. Once I'm up, I'm up. And so I was like, no, this can't be it for me. Like, I was like, so irritable, but like my PMDD partner was so happy. Like that's a lot of times when your PMDD partner may not have their physiological needs met, but you do, like vice versa, like you could be really happy and they're suffering. I was suffering and he was happy and he had no clue, or he did have a clue. I don't know. I didn't bring it up because again, I was holding it in because it was his birthday weekend and everything like this. Here's the problem. I thought it was selfish because I understand that he wanted to cuddle. He wanted to feel loved in the morning. But it should never be at the cost of your partner's suffering, right? So the problem with PMDD partners and them being selfish is when that selfishness is taking away from the well-being of your partner. And I feel that on the other side of that, when you get to that point where you start putting your needs above your PMDD partner's needs, meaning you're like, yeah, I know that they need sleep, but I want this, I need this. There becomes a series of bitterness and resentment that goes on within the other partner, because they feel taken advantage of. They feel underappreciated. They feel not cared for. They feel not supported. And they feel really alone. And that's a dangerous place to be. And this is a lot of times when the PMDD breakups come in, because in a sense, they feel like in order to take care of my physiological basic needs, since my partner's not going to take care of my needs, I need to take care of myself. Because they feel like if I'm going to take care of my needs myself, then why do I have a partner? So that's when this question starts to come in. Should I even be with this PMDD partner? Do they even care about me? Do they even value me? They're so selfish. And then it's like, is my life always going to be like this? So there are certain things in every PMDD relationship, and they look different. And I always try to ask my private clients, what is the blueprint? What does a relationship look like to you? Because what a relationship looks like to you may not be what it looks like for another couple. So I ask both partners, what does that look like? What do you need out of the relationship? Because I want to see if any of their physiological needs are not going to be met because of the other person. So for example, if my PMDD partner was one of my clients and I said, what do you need out of a relationship? And they say, okay, I need to sleep with my PMDD partner every night, and I need to cuddle. I need to feel loved in the morning. I need all of these things. Okay, I would look at the sleeping schedule or any barriers to sleep for the other partner, right? Because if the other partner, like in my example, there's a lot of logistics that have to go into it because I'm a night owl, because he snores. Like I would look for those barriers and make sure that they're addressed, because if not, you're going to be bumping heads like we were, where somebody's needs are they're trying to get their needs met, but it's at the cost of my needs, which is my sleep. So you need to make sure you have a clear alignment of what that relationship looks like, what the roles look like, and what are the roles in the relationship. And that needs to happen frequently because it can change. I know for us, it's changed where in the beginning, I might have said, hey, I think that you should handle this and I should handle this. And then later on, I'm like, no, I'm going to handle this and you handle this. So over time, what your relationship looks like changes, and you need to revisit it a lot of times to make sure that you're in alignment, to make sure that your physiological needs are met. So the same thing can go with the food thing. Like, for example, my PMDD partner likes to sit down and eat at a table, right? One of his basic needs is food. He finds a lot of value and intimacy from sitting down and eating at a table. I never ate at a table. I would like have a tray at the most, or I like being on the couch in front of the TV. My daughter's the same way. So like we have to adjust for that. Like I know, like maybe breakfast and lunch, I'll eat like I normally eat, sitting at the stool or sitting and watching TV or sitting at my computer, but I'll have like one meal a day where I make sure that his physiological needs for food are met with that comfort and that intimacy that, he likes, and that's important to him. So we just need to make sure that whatever actions that we're taking in our PMDD relationships are in alignment with making sure that our PMDD partner's needs are met. And the reason why is because the minute that your partner's needs are not met within the relationship, they can go seek those needs getting met outside of the relationship. And that doesn't always look like infidelity or cheating or anything wrong. It may look like they're like, you know what? I told you time and time again what I need out of the relationship. I'm not going to beg you anymore. I'm not going to beg you to give me what it is that I know that I need. I have the ability to meet my own needs. And now you're standing in the way of that. And again, that's a dangerous place to be, because when you get into that mode of feeling like I'm going to take care of myself, then you all of a sudden feel like you don't need your PMDD partner anymore. Insert PMDD partner breakups And it'll happen every single month, because if you feel like they're not meeting your needs every single month, you're going to get to that same place of like, all right, if I'm going to do it myself, you'll do it for yourself a couple of times, but after a while, it's going to get really old and you're going to be like, well, I might as well be single. If I'm going to meet all my needs, I might as well be single. And so that's why I wanted to reveal this to you, because you may be in a situation where you're being selfish in your relationship and not even knowing it, not even knowing that you're contributing to your partner wanting to leave the relationship, right? Or your partner could be being selfish, and you may need to bring it to their attention. You may think, this is so small, I'm not going to bring up, food or sleep or water or, shelter. I'm not going to bring these things up, but you need to bring them up, because if these are the basic needs, like we have 4 other categories that we're going to go over. So if you don't have your basic needs met, then don't try to talk about anything important. Don't try to address any issues. Don't expect your partners to be on their best behavior, because their basic needs are not being met. And so the issue is that PMDD exasperates a lot of things. So if we start internalizing a lot of our basic physiological needs not being met, you're really going to get to a point where you want to leave, because you're going to start feeling like you don't feel cared for. And then when PMDD comes, it is going to make you want to pull the plug on everything that you were lacking. So if you held it in your follicular days and you were kind of just like feeling like you weren't getting taken care of, all of these things, PMDD doesn't let you keep holding it in, right? It's like, I always say, it's like, my mom used to do this to me when I was little. When I wouldn't wake up on time, she would rip the covers off of me. So I would get really cold. So I would have no choice but to wake up. And that's what PMDD does. I feel like we try to stay in our little comfort zone of what we're comfortable with talking with our PMDD partner about. And then all of a sudden, PMDD rips the covers off and it's like, no, we're going to address all of this, right? And so when you get to that point, that's when you probably are going to go off on PMDD rage, because you're going to just dump everything on them and say, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And it could be solved very simply by allowing these basic needs to be met. So we cannot dismiss everything that goes on in our good days that we are just holding in, because when PMDD comes, we have to really deal with everything that we're covering up, right? So, and this is a monthly thing, right? Because I feel like once you start packing it in, it builds on top of each other. It builds and builds and builds. And then by the time it comes out, you've had so many things that you've overlooked and not dealt with your PMDD partner that you're going to feel suffocated. It's almost going to feel like too much water under the bridge. You know that saying, like, we have too many issues for us to make this work. And that's because you've gone month and month and month not addressing these issues. And that's why I have the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Academy, to give you the tools to communicate these triggers, these needs to your PMDD partner in a way that's not going to cause you to argue. Because I know a lot of times I used to not communicate if I thought that it was going to lead to an argument, and it's like, oh, forget it. But then I didn't forget it. It's just, I was avoiding it until I couldn't avoid it anymore. And so I don't want you to get to that place where I was just a couple of days ago. Okay. So I want to let you know that I too deal with this on a monthly basis. I'm not telling you these things like it's so far off, like back in my day. No, back in my day was like 4 days ago. Right. So I ended up getting really bitter and resentful towards my PMDD partner, and they didn't even know it. And again, this can happen. I can do a whole episode on this, where because you're not communicating, your PMDD partner doesn't even know that you're upset with them, but then you start to get bitter and resentful, and you can be literally planning your exit and your partner doesn't even know it because you've said nothing. I've had clients like that where we've literally been on calls and they're strategizing their grand exit. They're taking the kids, they're taking the dog, they're packing up the house, and their PMDD partner doesn't even know anything's going on. Because you'll get to a point where you feel like staying in the relationship is punishment. You're going to feel like it's punishment when you're in a place of suffering in your relationship because your basic physiological needs aren't met. When those needs aren't met, it's so daunting, like you feel almost trapped because you're like, I need sleep, or I need food at this time, or I need these needs to be met. And like, I can't survive without this. So as for me, when I got back from my trip, I always talk about, I get up in the morning, we do these texts, we do this devotional, we do this connection time first thing in the morning. And I was doing it, but I noticed when I got back, because I was so bitter and resentful, I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like doing that task that I lovingly do all the time, because I was so bitter and resentful from my basic physiological needs not being met. And I started to feel like there were some mornings where I really just needed quiet time to check in with myself without doing all the good morning texts and stuff first. Like, I just wanted to check in with me, but I felt this overwhelming sense of responsibility to meet my partner's needs before I allowed my own needs to be met. And that is when the resentment will come through, because instead of just communicating and saying, hey, I'm going to take this time in the morning, or some mornings I may need to check in with myself before I check in with you, my partner. If I was to force myself to do that, then I begin to think that it's a job, it's a duty to do those loving things. And if you find yourself doing things for your PMDD partner where you're forcing it, but it's causing you suffering because you're sacrificing your own needs, meaning you're doing so much for your PMDD partner, you're not eating when you're supposed to eat, right? You're fixing their food, you're doing all the things for the kids, the dog, everybody else, but you're not eating when you know that you're hungry. You're getting to that spot of getting hangry, right? You need to put yourself first in those times. Because if not, you're going to get bitter and you're going to get resentful. Same thing with sleeping. If your PMDD partner wants your attention when you really need sleep, and you sacrifice that, you say, okay, I'm going to stay up with them and not get your sleep, you're going to become bitter and resentful. And I really want you to understand that whatever you need, as far as your physiological needs, don't feel guilty for it. Do not feel guilty. Do not feel like you're wrong for that. Don't try to compromise it, because your needs are your needs, and that's okay. So I love my PMDD partner. I'm pretty sure you love your PMDD partner. And when you love your PMDD partner, there is a sense of responsibility towards meeting their needs. But when your needs are not met, that can become pressure. And it becomes pressure when my partner's well-being becomes more than I can give in the moment, right? And this can happen whether you're in your follicular days, your good days, or when you're in PMDD. So then you can get to a point where you feel like you need to escape from meeting your PMDD partner's needs because it's not in alignment with your needs being met. You're like, okay, only one person gets their needs met, right? And I don't want you to get to that mode of feeling like you have to escape and you can't handle this and it's too much for you. Because again, that's when the PMDD partner breakups come up, because you feel so suffocated, very suffocated. And I'm going to go more into this in the academy. So if you have not joined, I have, as of now, because I'm releasing this episode midweek, because I normally do Mondays, but I'm going to release this one on Wednesday. So is today Wednesday? Wait a minute, I'm getting my days mixed up. Nope. Today's Tuesday. Yeah. So I'm going to release this because I really wanted to update you on part of my trip. I have more, so much more that happened on my trip. I think I'm going to release this Thursday. Now that I thought about it, I'm going to release it Thursday. But what I do want to tell you is that starting on Monday, if you are on Instagram, I'm going to be going live with one of the holistic PMDD trauma warriors that I've been collaborating with. And I never normally collaborate with anyone because I vet them very seriously. You are my people. So I make sure whoever I'm, bringing to you as a resource is going to be someone that's really going to add value. But they're going to be going live on Instagram. And then also I'm going to have them go into the Breakup Proof Academy, and we're going to be talking about the PMDD pivot. This is something that I use with my private clients, and it really helps when you're in those moments of fighting intrusive thoughts and PMDD rage. So if you have not joined, there are 19 spots left for the Breakup Proof Academy. So you can go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com, or the link is in the show notes, or on my bio on Instagram. But make sure you're really getting plugged in. We're going to start on June the 5th. You'll start getting access to trainings from me every single Monday. Again, I have clients in over 54 countries now. And so I'm going to be sending you those recordings in two places. Number one, there's going to be a private Facebook group where you can go in there. You're not obligated to interact, but it is going to have other PMDD partners in there. I'm going to be going in there every single day and answering any Q&As that you have. And then also there are going to be trainings uploaded directly in Facebook. And then also you're going to have a membership portal on my website. So however you want to listen to the trainings, you're going to get new trainings every single month. This is the most affordable way to work with me because you're literally only paying $100 for pretty much 4 sessions, 4 training sessions. And that is an unbelievable value, but I wanted to make sure I provided something to you so that if you're not my private client or you want to supplement, basically add on to what we're already doing privately and be able to get those tools in the middle of the week, you need to go join this. This is going to be so valuable to you. You're going to be learning, rewiring your brain on little things that you can do when you go into PMDD. And as you can see, these tools work when you're not in PMDD, because all the tools that I was using while I was on this quote unquote vacation with my PMDD partner. I was in my follicular days and I was using them and I had to use them because the breakup absolutely would have come because PMDD is going to be here in a couple of days. And if I didn't put those tools into place, I would have been like, I need to get the heck up out of here because I need sleep. So we're going to talk about next week, I believe we'll talk about the next hierarchy of needs and how it relates to your PMDD partner, but I am going to be going into the academy. Every single time you get a training, you also get a workbook that goes along with it. So that's the benefit of being in the Breakup Proof Academy, is that the workbook helps you customize the training to your specific relationship. It's something that I would use in my private sessions, but you're getting access to do it yourself. And any questions that you have on any of the trainings, you drop the comment right underneath, and then I answer you directly. I'm probably going to answer you in video or audio because that's my thing. Because I like to personalize everything. So if you'll get a little mini video from me, which is like mini coaching. But it is directly related to what can help you in your relationship. So I'm super excited. Go join the Breakup Proof Academy. I am doing this for you, PMDD partners. It is literally, the cost should not be an issue. It's less than $3.33 a day. You're getting 4 trainings. So if you've been thinking about having private sessions with me, you've not done so, or you are my private client, go join this academy. You're going to get invaluable information, and it's going to be new and fresh, and we're going to have new topics every single month. We'll have a theme, and then we'll have trainings on them every single Monday, and we'll have Q&As. It's all the good stuff is in there. So go in the Breakup Proof Academy. I can't wait to see you in there, connect with all of you. Until next time, we got this. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.